March 14th, 2003. A quiet Tuesday night in Millhaven, a small town with 4,200 population, and most of the people did not hear about it. It has one diner, one gas station, and one police station with 3 officers. By morning, it would be the most talked about town in the country because that night, 5 people walked into the Millhaven National Bank and 4 of them never walked out. To understand what happened that night, you have to understand Millhaven. This wasn't a city. There are no cameras, no emergency response units. In Millhaven, if something went wrong, you were on your own. The bank closed at 6 p.m. Standard hours for a Tuesday. But on this particular night, the bank manager, a 47-year-old man named Gerald Howell, had asked 3 of his employees to stay late. There were discrepancies in the weekly ledger. Routine, he told them, shouldn't take more than an hour. His name was Gerald Howell. He was a father of 2, a deacon at his church, the kind of man who remembered every employee's birthday. He had worked at that bank for 22 years. That was the last night anyone saw him alive. Sandra, a 29-year-old loan officer in the bank, had just gotten engaged 3 weeks ago. Her fiancé, Thomas, was waiting at home. He's tall and quiet man, according to his coworkers, but everyone agreed. Thomas was the most dependable person in that building, and then there was the 5th person in the building that night. Someone who wasn't supposed to be there at all. A man in a gray coat. No name, no ID, no record of entering through the front door. The surveillance footage showed him at 7:43 p.m., sitting calmly in the lobby, reading a newspaper, as if he'd been waiting. At 9:15 p.m., Sandra's fiancé called her for the 3rd time. No answer. He wasn't the type to panic. He assumed she got caught up, told himself he'd give it another 30 minutes. At 9:47 p.m., he drove to the bank. The lights were on. The front door was unlocked, and there was not a single soul inside. No signs of struggle, no overturned chairs, no shattered glass. Just 4 people's belongings, coats, keys, phones, sitting exactly where they'd been left, as if their owners had simply evaporated into the air. Then, at 11 p.m., a rookie officer named Craig made a discovery in the back storage room. On the floor, barely visible beneath a metal shelving unit, a single gray button, and next to it, scratched into the concrete floor with what appeared to be a coin or a key. 4 words. He came for us. The security footage was reviewed frame by frame. At 7:43 p.m., the man in the gray coat appears in the lobby. At 7:51 p.m., Gerald enters the lobby, sees the man. There's a brief exchange. Gerald does not appear alarmed. At 8:13 p.m., the footage cuts to static. Not a system failure. Not a power outage. The cameras had been manually disconnected from inside the server room, a room that required a 6-digit access code to enter, a code known to only 3 people in the world. Gerald was one of them. When investigators ran the man's image through the national database, they got no result. But a federal agent working the case recognized something in the photograph. Not the face, the watch on the man's wrist. It was a military-issue timepiece, discontinued in 1987, issued only to a specific unit within the United States Army, a unit that had been disbanded and their records officially did not exist. 3 months into the investigation, Detective Louise received an anonymous envelope. Inside, 6 photographs and a 2-page document. The photographs showed Gerald Howell in a government facility uniform, shaking hands with men in suits. Gerald wasn't the victim. 2 days after Detective Wren submitted her findings, she was removed from the case. The federal investigation was quietly closed in January of 2004. Insufficient evidence. Sandra and Thomas were declared legally dead in 2006. Gerald Howell's name was never found on any official government record. The man in the gray coat was never identified. The Millhaven National Bank closed 6 months after that night. The building still stands. Nobody bought it. Nobody tore it down. The locals don't talk about it much anymore. But if you drive through that town and you happen to stop at the one diner on Main Street, and if you happen to mention that building to the woman behind the counter, she'll set down whatever she's holding. She'll look at you, and she'll say the same thing that everyone in Millhaven says when someone asks, "We don't go near that place." Cases like this one don't make national headlines anymore. They get buried in filing cabinets, in reclassified databases, in the memories of people who are told to forget. Sandra and Thomas deserve to be remembered. They were real people. They had lives, families, futures, and remember, the most dangerous secrets are always hiding in plain sight.